Hello, hello. Okay. All right. Greetings, YouTube. Let's go here. Keep a little bit of audio. Our beautiful mind here. So this serves as the lecture for week 6 on Wednesday for support for college algebra. All right, guys, we are entering the home stretch. Okay. I think I've loaded all of the homework that I wanted to load for this course for the remainder of the quarter. I think that chapter 6 is the last of it. I think so. Let me see, 7. Yeah, that should be fine. I think chapter 6 should be the end of it. So just be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for the final exam. I might just go ahead and get it up, and also be on the lookout for reduced late penalties. So instead of the late penalty being 20%, I might reduce it to 10%, which means you can actually get an A probably on all the assignments once I do that. And I'm trying to give everybody time. So it looks like you might have about 2 weeks to work on these assignments, because I know it's a lot of work, and I want to give people a chance. I mean, people have had a chance, but you got to take advantage of it. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so just kind of be on the lookout for that stuff. So if you've been keeping up, then you can actually take advantage of it. You should be able to get an A on any assignment, even old exams, if you want. Okay, it's just a lot of work. Okay, but just once it's done, it's there. Okay. So with that, today I just was gonna keep it kind of light. I just want to go through section 6.3. Also, be sure that you're logging 2 hours of tutoring with the tutor every week. Okay, I think he's been logging that, and he's supposed to get that to me. Let me see. I think that's it for you all. Yeah, just mainly get your assignments submitted. I'm available if you need support, and I can't think of anything else. So let's get into the lecture for today. I hope everyone is doing well. So I'm not a nutritionist or anything. I'm an aspiring vegan. That's about the state of my veganism. I know the benefits of being vegan and vegetarian. I definitely still eat like animal products. You might hear me with a lot of mucus today because I had pizza like over the past 2 days. So it's been bad. So I have a lot of mucus that I'm getting out of my body in order to heal the body. The technique of healing the body I kind of like to follow is the technique promoted by Dr. Sebi. He would say things like, if you want to heal the body, you have to remove the mucus. To remove the mucus, you have to remove the animal products, because the mucus comes from the animal products and the illness lives in the mucus. I was like, oh. And I tested it, and there's some validity to what he said, because I was definitely vegan for like a solid 2 or 3 months. I mean, and it was good. As soon as I ate, dairy is the worst, but as soon as I got any kind of animal products back into my body, it was like the mucus was so bad, and I got instant flu-like symptoms. And again, I'm no nutritionist. That's not my field of study. I'm just speaking on what I personally experienced, and I was like, oh my Lanta. So you have to bear with me today. But I definitely encourage people to just be aware first and foremost, and then just go with what is right in your heart. I feel like people need what they need, and that's not my place to say what somebody needs. And I feel like people know what's best for themselves. Like, people know intrinsically in their soul what they really need, right? And some people do need that stuff. I feel like I'm not one of them that needs the edible products, but I do encourage people to follow their heart. Okay, that's neither here nor there. That's beside the point. Okay, so yeah, we'll take some time to continue chapter 6. And today we want to look at section 6.3, addition and subtraction of rational expressions with the common denominator and determining the least common denominator. Okay. So some objectives here are to add and subtract rational expressions with the common denominator and determine the least common denominator. So to add and subtract 2 fractions with the common denominator, once we get the common denominator, then we just add the numerators, so the top plus the top, as long as C is not 0. Similar for subtracting fractions, once you get a common denominator, just subtract the numerator, so the top minus the top. So here, if we're asked if we want to add these fractions, notice that they already have a common denominator, so we just add the numerator. So this is going to be 7 plus 8 divided by 16. Oh, it's 7, 14, 15. So this is going to be 15 over 16. Okay. And here, if we'd like to subtract, so again, they already have a common denominator. It's just going to be 11 minus 5 divided by 18. What is that? 6 divided by 18. Both of these are divisible by 6, so it becomes 1 by 3. Okay. Okay. So to add or subtract rational expressions with the common denominator, add or subtract the numerators. Place the sum or difference of the numerators found in step 1 over the common denominator, and then simplify the fractions if possible. Okay, notice that these already have the same denominator, x plus 5 times x plus 2. So then we want to add our numerators. Okay, we're going to do it like this. So if we focus on the top and we combine like terms, the x squared is by itself. There's no other x squared. We got 2x plus 5x to give us 7x. Negative 2 plus 12 is 10, a positive 10. And we have that. We just bring down the common denominator. Okay. Let's see. Can we factor that numerator? Are there two numbers that multiply to give us 10 and add to give us 7? Yes, there are. So let's go like this. X plus 5, x minus 2. So we have x and x, plus and plus, I think it's 2 and 5, right? So then the x plus 5 cancels the x plus 5. And this leaves us with x plus 2 divided by x minus 2. So another thing I've been doing with this whole food thing, I've been doing pretty good actually. The past like 3 consecutive days, I've been like running on the belt line. I did like 8 miles each day. I was like, yo. And like, so what I'm doing is like, I'm intentionally, let me see. In the past, I could do like 8 miles and then I would like not run for like 2 or 3 days and my body would be sore and I would give it time to recover. But there was a stretch where I was running consecutive like days back to back. And what I noticed was that my body is still sore and there's still lactic acid that I'm trying to like build up that's causing the pain and cramping and all of that. But when I ran the consecutive days, like my body actually got used to it and it like got over it and it like got it out of its system, as long as, especially if I only give it what it needs. Like if I'm doing like mostly fruits and veggies, it does even better. And so like, as long as I like run like every day, I mean, you know, you have to monitor yourself. You don't want to like go overboard. Again, I'm not a nutritionist or not really an athlete. I mean, I actually kind of am, but not really. You know, you definitely want to like consult a nutritionist or someone of that nature. But what I found is that as long as you just keep doing it, the body will conform to what I'm telling it to do. It's kind of an interesting experience. And then so I just make it like I've been taking like the dog with me, like Malachite, and like just putting like inspirational stuff in my ear. I listen to like a lot of Ralph Smart, Infinite Waters. He's a really interesting guy. He you can see his journey from nobody to millionaire by just saying peace on like YouTube. It's a very interesting experience or a story. It's very long and he posts every day. Like he's been doing this for at least 2 or 3 years, something like that, if not longer. It's for a good little while. Like it's much longer. I don't know how long it was. I can't think of when he started, but yeah, it's at least, I've been following him for at least 3 or 4 years now. But yeah, he's interesting. So I'm usually listening to him when I go running. Anyway, again, I digress. Let's get back on task. Okay, I think this is the one we just did, and that, wait a minute. Their final answer is wrong. It's supposed to be x plus 2 divided by x minus 2. Yeah, that's not right. Yeah, that's supposed to be x plus 2 divided by x minus 2. Let me go ahead and fix that. Give me a moment. All right, so I wasn't able to fix it, so I'm just gonna have to manually like write into it. Let me see. So type on here, there it is. So this is supposed to be x minus 2. Okay. All right, let's look at this one. So we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. X squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay, notice we already have a common denominator. So we're going to subtract our numerators. And I think we also need to distribute this negative. Okay, so if we do this, we'll get x squared minus 6x plus 3. It's kind of loud in my ear. Then it's going to be minus x squared plus 8x plus 5. The denominators are already. Let's go ahead and factor the denominator. Looks like it can be factored, right? So can we factor it into something of this form? We have x and x. Two numbers that multiply to give us 12 and add to give us 7 is 4 and 3. So plus 4 plus 3. Okay, if we keep going, it looks like this cancels this. Negative 6x plus 8x is a positive 2x. So it looks like, let's keep this x plus 4, x plus 3. We said 2x. 3 plus 5 is 8. I think that's it. Okay, we can factor out a 2 from everything on top. So then we're going to have 2 times x plus 4. On bottom we have x plus 4 times x plus 3. And let's see, this cancels this. And we're left with x plus 3 under 2. Okay, 2 divided by x plus 3. Let's see, how do we do? Okay. To determine the least common denominator of rational expressions, factor each denominator completely. Any factor that occurs in the same denominator more than once should be expressed as powers. For example, x minus 3 times x minus 3 should be expressed as x minus 3 squared. List all different factors, other than one, that appear in any of the denominators. When the same factor appears more than once in one denominator, write that factor with the highest power that it appears on. The least common denominator is going to be the product of all the factors listed in step 2. Okay, we can do that. Determine the common denominator. So here, the only factor from the first denominator to 7 is basically going to be 7 times y. So that's going to be our common denominator here. Okay. So we want to multiply all the different factors, right? So we're going to say the 5 times the x, and we take the highest exponent. So that's going to be our least common denominator. Okay. The least common denominator. Okay. So the 18, we need to factor out the 18. So then 18 is what? 2 times 9, but then the 9 is 3 times 3 times 2, right? Let's go ahead and do the 27 as well. Let's do, I guess we can do this color. So then the 27 is what? 3 times 9, but then that 9 is 3 times 3. All right. So then we want to list one of every factor that's different. Every factor that's different. So the least common denominator is going to be, we need at least a 2. We need at least a 3. The highest exponent on the 2 is a 1. The highest exponent on the 3 is 3. And then we need an x, we need a y. The highest exponent on x is 3. The highest exponent on the y is 3. So then ultimately, 27 times 2 is 54. It's going to be 54 x cubed, least common denominator, greatest common factor, yeah, times y cubed. Okay, this looks like the least common denominator. Again, we wrote all the denominators in completely factored form. We took one of each factor that's different. Then for each different factor, we took the highest exponent that occurred on each of those factors and multiplied that out. Okay, let's see, how do we do? Okay, okay. Yeah, that's exactly what we got, okay? All right, the least common denominator. Okay, so if we want the least common denominator, hang on, let me make sure. Okay. Didn't know that. All right, so we need to write each denominator in completely factored form, right? So let's start with this 3x squared minus 6x. What do they have? What do these two terms have in common? They both have what? 3x. We can factor out a 3x from both of them. And then if we do that, from the first one, we're going to be left with x. And from the second, we're going to be left with the 2. Okay. So then if we do this x squared minus 4x plus 4, looks like we can factor it into something of this form. X and x, minus and minus, and then 2 and 2. Ooh. So then we're going to write this as x minus 2 squared, right? So then we want to take, I'll just use this color. So the least common denominator, we want to take one of each different factor. So factors are things that we multiply, and terms are things that we add and subtract. So we want to take one of each different factor. So we have a 3, we have an x, and we have this x minus 2. And then take the highest exponent on each of those. So the highest exponent here is that. So then it's just going to be 3x times x minus 2 squared. Okay. I think that was one of the better articulations I've seen for finding the least common denominator. You factor out the denominators and then take one of each different factor. Again, factors are things that we multiply. Okay. And then take the highest exponent on those factors. I like that explanation. Okay. So on that note, we're actually going to end the session here. Over the next week or so, we'll continue. I'll probably just do a lecture a day until we get to 6.7. I think 6.7 will be the last of the new material. I had to check Moodle and make sure. For our course, be sure that we're meeting with the tutor at least 2 hours a week. Okay. So just do the best you can with that. Okay. And then just make sure that we're getting our assignment submitted promptly. Okay. And on that note, we're going to end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.